Roshan Croos, welcome.
Pleasure being here, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. On
Were
camera
you
for no
working today?
reason.
Were you working
Yeah,
today,
it
or
is
was
a
it a?
working. It's a working day,
Oh,
so we work in a hybrid setup, kind of flexible. Yeah, it is a working day, busy day.
okay. Okay. Super. So I know you as a strategic, logical thinker who is always analyzing things. I'm also wondering what's your thinking like. Like, do you always think with numbers inside? I think different people have different thinking styles. So you're more of an analytical thinker.
The mix of intuitive and analytical thinker probably. The key for me is I keep the emotions aside when making decisions, mostly. Especially in corporate, I keep my emotions. So I don't see the person. I only see the the context of it. I don't see people. I don't see emotions. So after the decision is made, based on the consequences, we can bring in emotions back and connect with people, and we can empathize and be compassionate. But for making decisions, it has to be the context, not any people. So keeping emotional aside and a little bit trusting your gut feeling and also the intuition and the analytics, yeah, it gives the idea for better decision making.
Okay. So it's not like you're ignoring the emotions, but you're dealing with the serious thoughts and analytical stuff first, and then you're coming back to the emotion, those things later.
Yeah, exactly. So when we make a decision, what the data gives is correct most of the time. So you depend on the analytics and data. Plus you think only about the consent. Like when you bring in emotion, you see the face of the person or the people or the situation, you tend to deviate from what it is like the best decision. So I don't want that to happen, so I keep it aside for a while until you make the decision. Then you can see best for the all the stakeholders or people involving, considering the emotional side and the empathy and the sympathy and side of it. So it's just keeping aside when decision making decisions, so that helps.
Okay, okay. I like that idea that, just because we are analytical thinkers, we don't, acknowledge emotional side of it. I think I'm happy that it's considered. Okay. So a common question to ask is entrepreneurship easy or hard?
It's like the challenges. So which challenge you like, depending on what challenge you like. So different entrepreneurships have different challenges, right? So if you
Yeah.
embrace the challenges, and if that is in one of your key areas of those challenges, you're going to like it. It's going to be easy for you. If the challenge is in the other side of what you don't like and stuff, so it's going to be difficult. So depending on the person. For me, it's challenging
Mm,
and interesting. I'll take it as a 50-50, but it differs on
mm.
what you choose and luck and their time and everything come around to make that decision. So it depends actually from the entrepreneur to entrepreneur.
Okay. How um, new is your entrepreneurial journey? Is it new or very old? Where did it all start?
Well, the ideas always groom in our mind, so it's matter of materializing it, right? From small days, we tend to play games and do stuffs. We buy a pen and sell it with 1 rupee margin when we are small. So those it will always be with everybody actually, the
Mm,
entrepreneurship skills. It's a matter of when and what do you materialize it. So in my end, I never thought of to become an entrepreneur, to be honest. So but I
mm,
wanted something away from the 9 to 5, the routine, the rat race, or you call it the circle of it. So
mm,
given that the field of choice, the area, the industry, the domain that I worked, and what
mm.
is thinking ahead, what is next for me. So what came is the entrepreneurship, which 50% of my choice and 15% what it
The
came
nature
as.
pushes you.
So going with the flow. They're going with the flow. 50% going with the flow and 50% decision. So I was there in the the journey of entrepreneurship, willingly or unwillingly, but
Mm.
but getting into the business, doing it as a serious business is 2 to 3 years of my career so far.
2 to 3 years. Okay. Was there any person who was maybe coaching you or influencing you, or was it like your own learning based on your ups and downs?
It really like time to time the learning changes. Actually, we'll have different role models. I've had role models on different part of my life as well, so
I'm
different
interested to
journeys.
know
So
who the role models are actually.
I don't call them as a role model. So, people I learned from. So when I was
Yeah.
at my first job, I had a colleague working next to me. So he taught me
Mm,
like, how to search stuffs in the internet, and which really helps me right now. So we
mm,
learn some alien thing, we go and search in the internet and gather knowledge. How to gather knowledge and wisdom, I learned from him. So that came as a key. So where like,
mm,
anything that I start doing it. So I have a habit of like a searching and learning more about the context actually, to at least have some
mm,
idea. So it could be some rubbish thing as well sometimes, but
mm,
you spend some time to learn and read and get the context, so that you
mm,
at least prevent not to do that, right? So it gives the
mm,
idea. So that is something like paved way for me to learn things, or during my journey. But
mm,
along with that, so there have been different learning. So I don't choose role model or the person to learn from and then learn from them. I decide
mm.
what to learn, and then look for the ideal person from whom we can learn. It could be somebody like Bob I look at, or it could be a security person out in the office, or somebody in the random person in the road. So first you
Mm,
embrace or acknowledge what you need to learn, and then look for
mm.
the learning in the environment. So you'll get it.
Okay, is it in terms of strategic learning or like overall learning?
Everything. So even like strategies, like if you like simplify it, uh,
Mm,
break it to the ground level, it'll be like in a
mm,
small matter of A to B or B to C only. When you look in the long picture, bigger picture, the impact, based on the impact, you say it's a strategy or it's a business plan or so many things. But we
mm.
cascade down into lower middle, it's going to be simple: A to B, B to C, C to A. It's going to be very simple. So that learning is what you like take from day to day life. Sometimes when you are like come to the bus stand, when you're in the Borella Junction, which bus you're going to take from Borella to Narrabri, which is going to go
Yeah,
slow. That like
yeah,
matter of deciding which is slow and which is like the slowest bus, and not to get into
yeah.
that. So those are decisions. We make it
Mm,
in a bigger way in companies, which brings you
mm,
$1 billion or whatever it is. So the
mm.
ideology of decision making very simple. So where you apply, how you apply is where the different comes. So learning is always simple and it's grounded. You take it from anywhere.
I think I like the way you simplified it. You just had a long journey and then you broken that down into smaller steps, which I think usually happens the other way around. Like I think stress comes when we look at the longer journey, but the stress goes down when you break it into A to B, B to C, C to D in that way,
Right.
right?
So I'll put it in a
More
interesting way.
practical. Yeah, sure.
So what I learned, my definition of stress is when you have unanswered question in your mind. You have a question
Mm,
where you don't have an answer. It's a stress. What I'm going to do for the next 5 years is a question. You're stressed and
yeah,
you are anxious. You have an answer. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to go with the flow. You have an answer. You're not stressed. So the more unanswered questions that you have in your mind, the more stressed you are, right? And
mm,
depression is about your past and anxiety about your future, right? Another
mm,
interesting thing is what we feel when we are stressed is
mm.
same as what we feel when we are excited. The body changes, like you
Yeah.
you sweat, and your heart beats fast, and you're shivering, and all those like body change, your mouth dries, all those changes. What you
Mm,
feel physically is same as excitement. So what is the difference is the mental view of it. I have an exam next week. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm stressed. I have an
mm.
exam next week. I'm going to enjoy all week, and I'm going to study the last day only, and I'm going to write it as it comes. I'm excited, looking forward. So how you perceive is the different, right? So when you have the long-term
Mm,
strategies plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, it's going to definitely going to give you stress because you don't have an answer for that, and
mm,
those are uncertainties. So what you do is you simply break into whatever the smallest element that you can, give answers for those elements. Say like I'm going to look when time comes.
mm,
2024, I'm going to look when 2024 comes. At the moment, I'm going to worry about like next immediate thing, the one block or two block. So you have very less stress. You have only few things to answer. Rest of things are answered and kept locked until you go there. So that keeps you stressless. So we always have less unanswered question in your mind. What I'm going to wear
mm.
tomorrow morning, I'm not going to. It's a stress.
Yeah.
I'm going to. where like whatever comes first from my cupboard, it's an answer. I'm not stressed. Simple as that.
Yeah. I think that's my common stress. If there's an event tomorrow, I don't know what to pick. It's very simple, but it actually makes sense. Okay, so breaking that down into small steps, and I think for me, it was similar way of thinking. So you said finding the answers. For me, I thought of it as maybe defining the problem or defining whatever it is. Defining it makes it less stressful. So it could be a life problem. Can you define it? So it could be a business related problem. Can you define it? So the more we define it, I think which is the hard. I think that is more hard than trying to get to the answer. Don't you think? Defining something.
Uh, so what you're trying to say is you having more clarity on that context, right? So finding more clarity.
I think so. Yeah.
Try to understand what is. Again, answering questions, right? So how do you find
Yes.
clarity? How do you define it? You ask questions and you have to answer it. Okay, this is what
Mm.
it is. This is how hard it is. You're just giving answers again. Same thing, like the way we are looking at this difference. So what you're saying is have more clarity, have defined, like find to try what it is. That is like you take away stress, right? So you can't
Yeah.
always, like from my perspective, you can't always like find the definitions or clarity of certain things. Sometimes you have to give
Mm.
time for that. You have to wait
Yeah.
until come. Until that, you're like I don't want you to be stressed. So until that, you can give a temporary answer and keep. It's like your phone RAM, more like
Mm.
the more apps you have, more apps running, you're going to phone is going to go slow. So until you use it,
Yeah.
maybe you're going to use it after 1 hour, 2 hour. Until that, you can close the app and keep, and then you can reopen it when needed. So that like gives more space in your RAM. So you can give a temporary
Yeah.
answer and keep, and then when the time
Yeah.
comes, you find all the definitions. So I'm giving a formula combining mine and yours.
Yeah. 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 Yes, that makes sense. So definition, yeah, the moment you try to find definition, you're actually trying to clarify it even more and more. That makes sense. When it comes to entrepreneurship or starting a business, I'm pretty sure you have seen a lot of common mistakes that a lot of people make. So what are the top mistakes that you see very usually, and also you see, okay, this is gonna be a huge problem, something like that.
Right.
Could
The
be
most
one,
common
top
I
two, top three. Yeah.
Yeah. So more common problem what I see from like all the business startups and entrepreneurships, like when they're starting, so they are either overdoing sometimes or underdoing certain things in terms of
Mm.
doing things. That there is a thin margin between overdoing and underdoing, like exactly what you want to follow, the right formula, the right mix of it, right? Sometimes
Mm.
they'll be pumping a lot of money, right? Trusting a lot of intuitions and trying to like go with the flow and all. Sometimes they are not like trusting the intuition, putting it all away, and very strategically and very textbook kind of a person moving it out, right? It has to be a right balance. When you need intuitions and when you need to capitalize on that, you need to do that, right? When you have to trust on the data and like analytics and for better decision making, you have to do that. So finding the right balance is what people are finding. So if you're lucky, and
Mm.
if you have enough luck and if you have enough like right decisions in the right time, you're going to like fly high. But most of the why I see the small entrepreneur startups struggling is, oh, either we are underdoing or overdoing in terms of the strategies and plan. So when you
Mm.
find the right balance between gut feeling and the analytical part of it, you're going to be in a safe space.
Okay. So it's just overdoing one of that or underdoing one of that. That's a
Exactly.
common problem. Okay. Um, some people, when they start businesses, they don't have a big investment. Some people have, and some people go for loans. So if someone is taking loans, do you think that's a bad idea? Or if they're taking loans, what should they be aware of?
Loans is fine as long as on what you invest is very important, right? So you take loan and you're going to pay an interest. So the return on investment on what you invest has to be equal above the loan and interest what you're taking, right? Then you're in the safer side. If you're taking a loan and investing something that doesn't bring that much of return on investment, then you're going to struggle. Like you're going to struggle. So when you're taking a loan, make sure the loan and the interest, the capital and the interest, the total of what you're going to pay back, right, is less
mm,
than what you're going to invest and get as a return on investment. That is when, like, you
mm,
are going to make profit. So most of the people I've seen, like I've seen businesses where, like, they make enough money, enough profit in the business, but after paying the interest and the capital to the from the parties they take loan, they don't have anything left. That interest
mm,
part, they're not planning it properly. So if you're taking loan, it's totally fine as long as you know on what you're investing and what is your ROI going to be, so that you're in the safer side. If not, you can find different ways of, like, breaking through to your entrepreneurship. Not necessarily, like, you have to have your own fund. You can bring in investors, you can, like, find out a different plan, or you can do something, or we can work something else, especially for the part-timers and the startup entrepreneurs. You can find different ways to find fund. So loan is one aspect, but when you take money, you have the liability, you have to return it back, and the ROI is the key that you need to consider.
mm. Okay, so in that case, the small costs matter, right? Like very small costs. So I have noticed, like even a small cost, you always try to add it to whatever the planning is happening. Like big cost, small cost, you try to not miss even a single cost that can come along the way. So how important is that? Because a lot of people, like for example, let's say there's an event being organized and we kind of ignore the travel cost. Like, okay, tuk, okay, that's fine. We can put our own money. Okay, we had Fanta or something, or water or something at the entrance. Okay, it's fine. So how important is that to think think that through?
In terms of, like, considering all the small expenses, right? So being very honest and accountable in terms of your business and what you do and what you spend is very important. That is where you're going to take the business from petty level to supermarket level. The difference is that, right?
Mm,
If you're in a small petty, what you do is you bring stuffs to the shop, you keep a margin, and you sell, and then on a gross you see, like, you have your money that you have in your hand has increased maybe 10,000 to 15,000. But on the inside, you don't check all the small expenses, the labor cost that you're incurring, and small indirect expenses we don't consider. So on the bigger picture, we will have more money, but we will not, you will not be making that much of profit. Whereas in supermarket, it is considered, right? You have to be disciplined, right? So I remember I've listening to a podcast. It's a 15 minutes sometime back, maybe 3 4 years back. So the podcast really clearly says, so that gave me a lot of wisdom. Actually, it says, if you have planned your financial freedom or anything, right, with time and money, right? So let's say I need $100,000 in 5 years to be very free or quit my job, right? So I'm planning, and I'm,
mm,
like, planning all the costs, small things, everything. I'll be planning, and only I'll making the decision. So in 5 years, I'm going to make this much. Let's say I'm having an additional coffee this morning for $10, $10, 400 rupees. See, not going to achieve the goal in 5 years, even though it's small. It's going to be 5 years, an extra 1 or 2 hours, which I need to make this 100 rupees I spent extra, even though it is small, right? So that it
mm.
creates an impact we sometimes neglect, right? So considering all those four small things and being very honest and accountable for what you spend, even if it's a spend, if it is a penny, that is important. So in terms of business, it's not the cost is, we don't see cost in terms of, like, how big it is, how small it is. So we will only
Mm,
see, like, how what is the impact it brings. It could be a direct impact to the business, or it could be an indirect impact, which we will might be result in some other positive ways, but we will see
mm.
the impact. Even if it's 100 rupees or $100, we're going to see the impact. So, and considering the impact, and considering being honest and accountable in everything is very important. The discipline, we call it basic discipline. So the discipline is important.
Okay, so if someone who doesn't have like a financial knowledge or education and they want to start a business, so obviously they should pay attention to the numbers and cost and everything. So the problem is everything is everywhere, right? So this cost, that cost, okay, investment, um, the duration, everything is there. So what is a very interesting basic structure that they can put everything into, that can give like an overview of whatever is going on? So is there a popular template that is there, or what is it?
So what I suggest is like the basic they can do is record everything, right? Record everything they spend and record everything they earn with the real date and real time and the real detail. That is more than enough to start your business or bring discipline into the business. But of course, like you said, trying to find a format on where can they can use. I recommend there are so many applications these days, right? So where we can monitor, like it's matter of entering data on the go, you enter it. So there are so many applications I use. Many application for my personal financing as well. So it's matter of you add all the details and keep. When there is an expense, you record it. When there is earning, you record it, put the reason and keep. So it does all the calculations. Those applications, they give you the graphs, data, everything they give by itself. There are free applications as well, and there are paid applications. The application I'm using is called Money Lover. So it's a very simple, very basic application I use for my personal financing. So it's just $1 one time payment I paid and got it. So every expenses you can record it, every earning you can record it. It gives all the details, all the net money you have and what are the pending that you have to pay, and you can record everything. And after that, when your time permits, when you're really good, you can transform those data into one of the accounting applications, or you can hire a freelance person to handle your account. Those things can be done once you're comfortable there. So to start or to have everything basic is record everything, that keep the discipline, and then when you have data you can transform into the next level to next level, next level.
Okay. It's called Money Lover, is it?
Money Lover. It's Money
Money
Lover.
Lover. Okay, maybe you should try that. So
Yeah, you can try.
obviously, before stepping into entrepreneurship and big business and all, it's very important that we know how we deal with our personal finances, right? So I'm not sure if we are not good with our personal finances. I'm not sure if we can be really good with our business entrepreneurship life, right?
So personal
Because
financing is
I read a quote or something which says, if you how you do small things is how you do big things,
exactly
right?
like I said,
So it kind of makes
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Anderson.
go on, go on.
Right. So what I was saying is now I'm connecting to what I said earlier. So if you break down, cascade those entrepreneurship ideas, strategies, cascade down, it's simple A to B, or what you follow in life. So
Mm,
finances and the money we talk about, business is breakdown. The discipline, the a pattern comes from your personal financing. If you are not disciplined enough in your personal finances, how do you expect you to be disciplined when you have more money? If you're not disciplined
yeah.
with the 1,000 rupees you have in your purse, you're not going to be disciplined in the 100,000 money that have in your company account. So it starts from here actually. It's you don't
Mm,
have to do accounts and balance money or reconcile your money, but you'd have to have discipline on, you need to know on what you're spending, what is the impact that bring is going to bring. That is being disciplined actually, not being a more personal financial person or recording, or being very financially strong person. But it's having the basic discipline. You spend 100 rupees, you know why you are spending and what is the impact that is going to bring. That is enough. It could be for a coffee, it could be for a chill out, or it could be anything, or it could be important, it could be for a book. But impact. So buying spending expensive books, there are so many books, entrepreneurial leadership books, and keeping in your rack without reading, right? You
yeah.
spend for a valuable thing, but the impact that it brings you is nothing. So no impact. Rather, if you had spent that money for a coffee, you would have had that moment enjoyed. So the impact it brings is important. So that is where the discipline. So you have to be very honest here with you on what you're spending and what impact brings in. That same template, same concept, same discipline transform into your business. When you're an entrepreneur, you're the leader of the business. When you're not
Mm,
disciplined, when you're not on the track, your employees, people coming under you are going to have the same culture like you, which is a trouble. So it starts within
mm,
you. So you're going to be the first employee of your company, and people are going to grow around you. So if you're not disciplined, if you don't have your things on place, definitely it's a problem. So personal financing is important, not because of the money aspect, but because of the process and discipline aspect for the business.
mm. Okay. Do you have any personal finance tips? Okay, I have one that I tried recently. I tried some apps actually, but I felt like some one thing was missing. Maybe that feature was available on different apps. So each month I was checking how much money I have received and how much money to be received that month. and also how much I have spent, and also how much money I have to spend that month. So my goal is to make sure that whatever I have received and about to receive, total is higher than what I have spent and what I'm about to spend. So in that way, I was always, even a small cost, it could be house rent or, going for shopping, whatever it is. So I found it very helpful. And of course, the discipline dropped, and then I didn't continue to do that anyway. So that's my something that I found very useful. I just use my memos app and just note it down every month. So do you have your own personal finance tips?
So common mistake, the problem we find in terms of personal financing is two things I usually find with people, and I find myself as well guilty sometimes. Number one is planning for the money yet to come for us. Right? You know that you're going to get 50,000 end of this month or middle of the month, right? You're going to plan it for, okay, once I get it, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one. Sometimes, overspend, like, because you know that the money is going to come. That is a mistake I see with people. So they overspend or like overdo uh, planning for the fund yet to come as well. Until you get the money to you, you don't have it. So you can get you can get. So don't plan and don't overspend. Planning a future as well. Number one. Second tip I would
Mm,
say is don't just use one bank account to your savings and spendings and bills and salaries and all. Don't just use one account. So when you have your money, even though you're saving it, in psychology aspect, like you will have that confident. Okay, I have some money left in the bank. See, you have 50,000 as saving and 5,000 for spending. You're going for a hotel. You're going to eat for 5,000, but you're sure, like if just in case if it goes above 5,000, you're comfortable because you have your money in the same account. You won't be disciplined enough. You won't control your mind. You have separate bank accounts for savings, have separate account for bill payments, incomings and like all those things, have separate for salaries, and organize where you save money and all those things. That really helps. So that brings in more discipline as well, more control on what you do. Right, let's say you have a separate bank account, 50,000 saved. So you have an urgency, you're taking 5,000, you will have the feeling you're going to have to put it back to that bank account. You have that feeling. But when you have
mm,
spend and save in same account, you won't have obligation. Okay, I have to put it back. That obligation is not there, right? So this is actually tricking our brain. Actually, it's my
yeah.
money. End of the day, I can spend it any day, but still I'm tricking it. Okay, it's a different account. I won't take it. I'm just tricking it, and I'm tricking my mind saying like until the money comes, it's not my money. So don't overspend, right? I might not get it. So keep that in, have your mind very disciplined and blocked. So that will help you
Mm.
the personal finance in terms of be more disciplined in terms of what you have.
Have a separate savings bank account. I think a lot of us don't do it because, and also the
Even
money
when we
doesn't stay
have
there.
it, even like sometimes people have three more accounts, but they don't use it for their convenience. They use one account, salary is coming, and like I can do all the transfers in one. I can do spending and everything. Like they're comfortable doing in settling into one. So
Mm.
people, like, even though they have, they don't know. So, but start doing it, so that will bring in more discipline. You'll see a difference.
Okay, I think that's the best personal finance tip they can start with. It's actually comes back to categorizing and uh, defining it well so that you don't mess it around. I think you have again comes back to discipline as well. You don't break your own rules you have created. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, your analytical thinking, I'll have to keep coming back to that a lot because even my analytical thinking started uh, only when I started working because we had to do a lot of data analytics and everything, like pivot table and this and that, checking the data this way and that way and this way, everything. And I thought, okay, maybe I have mastered analytics. And then after I met you, and then you started to give me some more information, these things you need to look at, everything. I'm like, okay, there's more things to look at. So that's how my analytical thinking grew up. Anyway, I love maths and everything, but that doesn't mean we are gifted with analytical thinking because we are good with maths, right? So, is your analytical thinking new, or did it begin from your childhood? That thinking style.
Thinking is it came recently actually, but I'm more of a maths person. I can do maths well. That is something else. That is like, no, how I can do with analytics is something else. But decision making, thinking in that way, again connecting to previous things, I want reasoning, very trustable, like credible reasoning actually for anything, right? So people would say this and that, I don't take the people's word. I wanted something like credible. So more credible things, the most credible thing is the data what you have, right? So based on data, at least there's exactly this has happened. So I started trusting on the data, and then started making decision. That is why it started actually. So it's not that like I believe data is everything correct, so but I make my decision on based on my intuition, based
Mm,
on what I feel, but I support the decision with the analytics and data what I have, so that I'm more confident
mm,
in what I make. I'm more confident in the decision what I make rather than just going blindfoldly. There is data to back, so I'm just more confident and going. It's like if you tie your eyes, and if somebody walks you through a pole or a pole on the top of like a rope or a building, you're going to go thinking that it's safe, but the moment you open your eyes and you're going to be
mm,
in trouble. So it's like blindfoldly, like I'm having the confidence, saying that data is correct, so I have something to rely on. So that is how it began. But I'm not like an analytical and very analytical kind of person. So from the childhood decision making, usually I don't do that. I mostly trust on the gut feeling and make decisions. But when it comes to business,
mm,
where you need some sort of backing or support to making decisions, the best option I can rely is the data. That is how the analytics starts.
mm.
And my questions will be very silly to people as well, right? So I'll be like asking
Yeah.
silly questions, and what if this and that and all those things. So no, they will be coming up with the data and showing this is what it is. Again, like I'm asking them also to rely on the data. So thinking came as that. So it's pure of like with the experience it came.
Okay. So in communication styles, I think analytical communication is one style of conversation, and a lot of people get offended based on the questions you ask, right? Like for example, majority of the people are not interested in this product. If someone says like that, you will probably go, okay, what do you mean by majority? Right? Because you're looking for like a very numerical value to that, right? So
Exactly.
how do you deal with that? Like, uh, I know people are not supposed to take it in an offensive way, but they take it. It's because you know something that they are not seeing. It's not even the intention is not to be offensive as well. It's just to get more clarification. It's actually to get them to define it more and more. So how to maybe prepare the other people's mind to think the same way, or how do you deal with it?
Right. So it's like the first thing is you need to trust yourself in asking crazy questions. You need to know what you're asking,
Mm,
right? So that is where like the successful CEOs, like and the business ideas appears. The craziness and creativity, there is no big margin, right? It's a narrow margin. So if the decision is correct, and if it becomes successful, you're creative, and if it doesn't work, you're crazy, right? That is going to be the margin small. First thing is you trust yourself on what you're asking. Right. Second thing is you
mm,
explain them, come into terms with the other party, that it is for the betterment of the result. It is for the betterment of the company. Nothing personal, right? So nothing personal, nothing against you. It's just like we are trying to make better decision for the cause. So when the both parties are in same place, to a level like people won't take it personally, so that they know like this person is not coming after me or like questioning my credibility, but he's trying to make better decision for the company, make sure everything is correct. So that when there is understanding and mutual respect, these things are kind of an okay. But more often than not, like you said, people, when I ask questions, the crazy question, people get offended, right? People,
mm,
most of the time they get offended. But end of the day, when we trust the data, right, it helps me to explain the people or my employees, colleagues, for them how data is important. So before coming to me, they make sure they do the analytics part, they make better
mm,
decision, they come with a clarity to talk to me. So with the time, when they are strong and when they start trusting data and make better decision, I don't have to question their credibilities, because what they say is equal to what is in the data. So at that point, it is more easy. So you don't have to rely on the data. So the data is like, both parties with the data, and then the communication becomes easy. So first thing is trust yourself, know what you're asking. Second thing
mm,
is make them understand it is for the betterment of the cause, nothing personal. So don't get offended.
mm,
It's again not against a particular person. It's about the context. The third thing is train them also to work along with the trust the data and analytics, and then
mm.
communication becomes very easy.
Okay, so also you're trying to create a behavior of, so you don't want to keep asking the same questions, because sometimes the questions you ask is the question that you want them to ask themselves.
Exactly.
So once
So
you
it's the
create that,
yeah,
go on.
yeah, it's basically bringing the culture, the data
Mm,
culture, right? So if everybody's in a culture, that you're going to follow it. So everybody will be in the data culture, so I don't have to question them anymore. So they know like what it is, what is this environment, what
mm,
is the decision we are going to make, what are the things that you're going to rely on. That is the one. So breeding the culture. So data and data driven or technically sound, digitally transformed culture is what I'm trying to breed. And second thing is, the technique what I use is called the probing technique. So we're giving a sense of realization. So when the question is asked, not that is not that I wanted the answer of it, right? I want you to ask the same question and understand the sense of reality, understand the context. It's a probing technique. So I probe you to think,
mm.
not to get an answer for me, but probe you to think. So when probing, you tend to research more and grab more knowledge, and your decision making, your answers have more clarity and more definition, like you said, because you're
Mm.
trying to, based on the question, you're trying to get more answers and more clarity and definition, connecting to the stress part what we discussed. So that is what how I deal actually.
Yeah, okay. The questions to, yeah, you're not expecting the answer, right? I think maybe they also think, okay, it's looking for an answer. I don't have, I'm gonna look a little stupid if I don't answer. But I think it's okay to say, okay, I didn't think about that. Okay, now I know this. On the next meeting, I'll maybe focus on that area and come back. Maybe that's something we need to clarify. You don't have to have all the answers. Okay, these questions are just to probe and make sure that you're thinking these areas. You're just opening multiple areas that we should be aware of, because the problem can come in any way.
It's like this. For an
Okay.
example, you're in your
Yeah.
room, your doors and windows are closed, right? And like you don't hear or see what is happening outside. It could be thundering and raining outside, but you don't hear. So you tend to make the decision based on what you know, what you have. So when you open the
Mm.
windows, look outside and like expand your area of wisdom, now you can make better decision. Now you know the better picture. So when the questions are asked, the windows and doors are opened. So you have a big area to think and look at, and decision making can be even more precise.
Yes, interesting. I'm while you were answering that question, another question popped up. So you always have this technique of bringing it very simple. You suddenly come up with an example that is um, very understandable. So how is that happening? Do you just, is it based on your experience, or you are able to quickly make it up? How, where is it happening?
Right? Two things. One is like learning the art of storytelling. Right? You need
Okay.
to have the art of storytelling. No matter how like good things that you say, if you don't tell it in an interesting way, your people are not going to listen, right? And when we are mostly like the leaders and managers, when they talk, or entrepreneurs when they speak, we tend to use the alien examples. Bill Gates was this, and Zuckerberg was this, and that person was this. So those are alien examples, not connected to my
Mm.
day-to-day life. So when you bring up something very simple that that can see, feel, the sense of belongingness and personalization comes. Oh, I was doing that as well when I was a kid, when I was schooling, I did this one. So you connect it. So that
Mm.
is like getting yourself involved in the process and the idea. So you tend to process it even better than those alien examples. So that is why I try to bring the simple and like life stories and small stories where the people can relate, put themselves in that shoes and imagine. So that is number one, learning the art of storytelling. Second
Mm.
one is the wisdom. That is what we call as wisdom. So day to day life, we have so many learnings every day from our childhoods and like right now. So you're a stand-up comedian, the comedy or the hilarious humorous speech that you do mostly connected with your life and what happens in your day-to-day life. Do you think that doesn't happen to me or any person, other person? No, it happens to every one of us, but we
Yeah.
fail to embrace it or acknowledge it. We're trying to understand it. So you're being
Mm.
successful in identifying those small moments, collecting together and putting it out as a speech where it is interesting. So that is called wisdom. Connecting your experience, your personal experience and knowledge and making a better decision is the wisdom. Right. So if you
Mm.
know what wisdom is, if you're trying to find wisdom in everything that you do, any theories, any notes or anything technical stuffs, you can relate it to your personal life. Right, so you
Mm.
will talk about project management, like big things, right? When you're planning, like bringing your people in your home, getting them ready and bringing them for a party is a project management, right? So different
Yeah. Yeah.
people, timing and all those things, so you connect it to that, and then
Mm.
that is wisdom. So you have, when you like embrace what is wisdom and try to find wisdom in small things that you do, like you exactly do in a comedy speech, and an art, learn the art of storytelling, which is important for in learn managing people. Combine these together, simple story, personal story, which can connect everybody. You tell it in a impressive way where people can listen and understand. That is where, like the success is.
Nice. I like the. I think a lot of people have might not have thought about planning a small trip is a project. It's actually a project because the same principles can be applied on a company level projects or whatever it is. I think maybe the moment they realize it, they will start to see the same patterns in almost everything. Okay, yeah, I think that's a great advice. At school, what kind of a person are you? Maybe childhood.
It is. I'm not the very talkative person. I'm a, like the based on the personal test that I've done, I'm an 80% introvert. Like whereas like 80% of myself is introvert, just 20% extrovert. So I'm more of an introvert, not a very mischievous kid, not a very active kid in terms of studies. I'm a person like lower back order people who are not in the, like enjoy the vibe of the last benches and like one or two benches before, but just enjoy but not a part of it, and just be there like without any issues. So that kind of a person I'm during school, and even after school I was the
Okay.
same. So the moment I decided to like pursue my career in human resources, where I started learning and talking, connecting with people and all. But school, I was a very silent and just a person being seated on a side, no hustle for anybody.
No, okay, silence. Do you play sports or like you're a? So does it mean you're a study person? Like you don't play that kind of person?
Definitely not a study person. I don't study. I don't study. I don't go for classes. I can hardly go sit in a classes. So I'm not a study person. I don't do homeworks, right? So I'm just, but I had the ability to like score marks, like an average marks, not the lowest, not the highest. So I'll be there in like first five kids in the school, right? So I'm content and happy with what I do because I didn't study, but I was able to score 70 marks, 60 marks is happy for me because I'm
Mm.
self-content more of a. I don't compare with others. I have scored 60 marks, or like I didn't study. I did. This is what my effort was. So the result was I'm okay with that. So that kind of person. Definitely not a study person, but as and when needed, I can connect with people. I can
Mm.
connect with people only when needed, but I'm not a very social person. I used to play sports, right? Not a very active person of a sport as well. So I used to like have hands in everything, almost everything. So
Mm.
just to know what it is, the taste of it, that kind of a person, right? But it's like touch and go in everything actually. Touch and go in studies, touch and go, having fun, backbenching, touch and go, sports and everything, touch and go. So I know everything, but it's just touch and go.
Okay, you have experience not in like one area fully, but you have spread your experience and learning to almost everything, which I
I've
think is
not
also
excelled in any.
extremely important.
I've not excelled in any, but
Yeah.
I've been part of many.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And also, when you said so you always knew your effort and you were able to predict this is the marks I might be getting, is it?
It's like they're finding the ROI actually. Anything that you do, anything that you
Yeah,
put, you
that's what
talk
I
to
was
a
going to say
person,
actually. Yeah.
you talk to a friend, you find a friend or talk to him, like just figure out like what is the impact they're going to bring. Right. So I remember
Yeah.
watching a movie called The Walk. I used to tell many people to watch the movie. So I don't
The
want. It's
walk.
a movie from 2015. So it gives,
Mm.
connecting your purpose with anything and everything that you do. It tells you how to connect. It's a very normal movie. I don't want to give spoilers. Anybody watching can go and watch. It tells you how to connect everything that you do in personal life. You get up today and ask, like, everybody will have this question Monday morning. Why should I get up and why should I go to work today? Right. So most common answer which comes is like, if I don't get, it's going to be a no pay. I'm not going to get paid. I'm going to pay, I don't get salary. Right. But on the hindsight, you're doing this for a purpose, right? Maybe like now after 40 years you're going to have a big house or car, like, or do you want to have a big career, so you have a bigger purpose of it. But for the smaller simple things, you're not connecting it. You're not worrying about the just immediate impact. So once you connect with the bigger picture, like the bigger impact and bigger story, it is easy to get all those things done. Right. So it's all about connecting with the bigger purpose, right? And then you can make decisions. So, and at the ground level it's going to be simple, but that is like, it has an impact. So understand the impact, so you know what you're doing. Even though it doesn't bring any impact directly, you know that it has an impact for your purpose. For example, you're reading a book. It's not going to bring you money or anything tomorrow, but when you are successful, when you want certain things in future, it connects, it helps, it serves a purpose. So you measure against that, not against the external rewards. Don't depend on the rewards and recognition that people say. Don't depending on the other person's. Compare yourself. Be self-content. Understand where you are at right now, where you want to go. Measure everything against that. And if it is not up
Mm.
to the standard, you work more. If it is up to the standard, you pat on your back. That is up to you.
The interesting thing about that is, we always try to step into something new with a bigger purpose in our mind. But as we get into it, because of the challenges we face, the stress that comes with it, we forget the purpose. And then somehow we are just, the mind becomes very narrow towards it. Has it ever happened to you? What are your
It
maybe
does. It does.
techniques on that to bring it back?
It always the mind block comes down when you have more uncertainties. It blocks the bigger picture that you have in front of you. It only gives the
Mm.
immediate thing. It's like you're driving on a very rainy day. You don't have turned on your AC. The fog, or you call the mist, covers your window, so you don't have clarity in front of you on what you're heading to. Right. You're now stressed. You're worried on how I'm going to drive and all those things, and you're going to think about day-to-day things, like getting up to work, and have maybe you're on a stressful life, or a work you don't like, college you don't like, you're following a degree that you don't like, and it's challenging. You don't have answers, so it's like the mist covered. Right. The driving is challenging, making challenge. So what we try to do is we trying to find solutions for this. Okay, the job is challenging. I'm going to change job. That is not a, that is a temporary challenge. What if the next job is also challenging? So what you need to do is you need to clear the fog. You need to bring clarity on why it is difficult. Find reasoning, find more definition, like you said. Figure out why it is, and then you clear the fog. Then you see the bigger picture, and it has an impact. Definitely has a connection on why it is. Like I like something Steve Jobs said, very interesting. Everything that you do in life has reason, but you don't have that reason right now looking ahead. But when you look back on things what happened, you can connect the dots. And this, because of this happened, because of this happened, and you can connect the dots. So that clarity and for trying to connect the dots from back is easy than trying to find the clarity on looking at the temporary problems. Always have clarity on what you want to do in the bigger picture. It always, you
Mm.
have that uncertainties. Whenever you have uncertainties, you have a mind block. Try to ask question why you want to do it. It is because of your bigger picture, not because of tomorrow I need salary, not because of tomorrow I need a degree, otherwise I can't do survive, not because of I need food next day. It's because of the bigger picture. That gives you motivation, that gives you more clarity. So what I do is I usually get mental block most of the time, because I extra stress myself in terms of work. I work extra hours. So it is when I have I will have a certain 1 or 2 days where I get the mental block. So what I do is I try to calm myself. put myself onto like comfortable position, and I connect everything to my ultimate vision. So that gives enough fuel for you to run for until the next mental block. Everybody will have that challenges. So it's about like pulling our socks and like start running towards the vision. So that will having a bigger clear picture, understand and knowing what it is very important to tackle the challenges.
Do you think that's why vision board usually works?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
The vision board, do you think that's why it works usually, to keep reminding yourself about the bigger picture?
That
Some
is
people
one way
print
and the
their
very
vision board.
basic way that people used to follow. And like what we taught in school is a very fundamental, like you write your vision board in where you can see. That is one way that you can do. So different people can use different techniques based on what they need. Let's say Bruce Lee used to I've used to go in front of mirror and like you think that he's going to be a great fighter one day, it seems. Right? So that is one way of like manifesting. We call it manifesting. You can use different way of manifesting. You can write in a board, you can talk to people, you can imagine that you are that kind of person. So have you had your childhood where like you practice your signature to put a nice signature when you're in school?
Yeah. Mm,
So that is like manifesting, right? So when you grow up, when you become a manager of somebody, you won't have a very nice signature, so you're practicing it. That is one way of manifesting. So writing a vision board is one way of manifesting. Some people will have it in their computer screen, mobile screen. Some people like they don't want to express it to anybody, so they'll keep it in their mind, so they don't want to tell it out to people. Some people use different manifesting way of. Some people write journals. You can use different techniques. Some feel like we can't. Different people, different techniques work. But you need to have a vision, you need to have a plan. The vision could be is to just marry, not do any job and enjoy a happy life, stay home without doing anything, or like working on it could be anything. It doesn't
mm,
have to be a bigger like a dream kind of thing to buy a luxury car or luxury home or luxury job. No, if your vision, if your ultimate purpose is to stay home, do nothing, that is your purpose. No one can challenge saying that is not a purpose. It's up to
mm,
you on what you decide and what you want in your life. I always say your definition, your choice, not anybody's choice. You define what you want and
mm,
then like manifest that vision. I want to stay home, just manifest it. So you
mm.
don't have to change it. And then you can use different ways of manifesting, but manifesting and having a purpose is very important.
Yes. Okay. I think somehow they have to have some sort of a reminder of the bigger picture. It could be a vision board or a diary or just talking to people. I think talking to
You
people.
you have a friend or a loved one continuously who can remind you saying, hey, you got to do this because of that. Still it's manifesting. That's a
Yeah.
vision board.
Yes. Just we need to remember that this is also something that can work. Okay. What is your learning strategy? Like, how do you learn? Is there a learning technique that you usually use?
So I am a lazy person in terms of spending time on learning things, but
Mm,
apparently I have to do that. I have no option. So the technique what I do use is any learning that I find, I try to implant an interest towards it. I try to connect
mm,
something that interesting for me in that particular learning, right? So and then you try to find more resources, read more things about it to get more clarity. Right. For example, if you want to learn cooking, maybe you don't like cooking, you can associate something that you like to cooking. Right. Maybe say favorite dish that you want to eat, maybe your favorite food. So I'm going to try this cooking this. So you're connecting some interest and implanting it to it. And then when you have interest, you can learn more. So my technique of learning is just reading, searching for mobile, finding solutions, finding reasons, reading articles, and that is my type of learning. I don't like enjoy reading a book, sitting, writing, and by hearting. I don't enjoy. I just like to have a bigger picture of those particular things. So as and when needed, we can go and learn. You don't have to buy hard things right now because you have so many tools in the internet. You have AIs and you have the tools. You have your mobile phone data. You can search and find anything at any time that you want, so you don't have to particularly sit and learn that particular thing. But when you
mm.
have an interest, implant an interest, you can you tend to learn more than before, rather than like finding hard to learn. So have an interest and or connect to some interesting part, right? So that you at least have interest, and then you can start learning. So that is what I do.
Okay, it's more like connecting the purpose again with whatever you are learning. Okay, I'm looking for something very specific in which, because one of the guest I have interviewed before, so his technique is, before going to sleep, he first tries to find a problem or something he wants to work on. He goes to sleep, and the next morning he thinks about that, and most of the time he can get the answer. Like, it's very specific. So, do you have any specific techniques? Maybe I don't know. Maybe going out for a walk and then learning, or maybe I don't know, something very specific.
Right? So you have different learning techniques. Of course, you have walk, visual, or auditory, or read and like. So different people have different techniques. So something that works for me is I don't like to have gray areas in anything. It has to be black or white.
Mm.
We'll see. Okay, let's see how it goes. Those things I don't like, so I need to have black or white answer always. It has to be that. So anything in personal also I find very uncomfortable when like something like something that I don't know ahead. So what I do is, for I probe questions in anything that I want to learn. What if it was this, or what if it was this? So that will motivate or trigger me to learn and read anything. So and then I go and read and learn about it. So it's like triggering your brain to learn. So you're lazy, you don't feel like learning, but you tend to, you get those on like a question that you need, like will be triggering your mind. So you have no
Yeah.
option go to learn, right? And best possible that I saw is like I google it everything, right?
Mm.
And I googled everything, but I read everything, but I don't make decision based on everything, because not everything that you find in google is reliable. But that is something. But because learning is not always to make better decision, right? So when you want to make better decision, there is certain way that you have to, so follow it normal way. But things have better wisdom, you can learn and you can know more things. The more you read, more context that you get, it's fine, but don't make decision based on that. So trigger yourself. What I do is I trigger myself. I'll ask questions. I don't like those questions, I will somehow try to find answers, mostly through googling and reading.
Okay, I think that's very specific. So, when we open a book and we start reading, we actually lost in the writer's pattern of thinking. But the moment we already have a few questions in our mind, maybe noted that down somewhere, and when we start to read, okay, each time you're reminding yourself, okay, these are the answers I'm looking for, because we can easily get carried away by the interesting findings of that book or something. Okay, so okay, I think that's a good technique to have questions before. I think that's a good technique even for schools and everything. When you're studying, have the questions ready inside your head, so which means you know a problem. Technically, whatever you're doing is to find a solution.
It's like, well, let's say you want to see, you have a yellow car in your mind that you want to see. You go to a road, you will see all the like unique yellow cars that goes in the road, that runs in the road. If you don't have that
Yeah.
yellow car in your mind, you're not going to see it. Whether it goes, you're not going to see it. So it's like, having the thought process, taking it to your body, thinking that this
Mm.
is what, then you will see those specific things in anywhere, anything that you go. You will look, you are finding as a stand-up comedian, you try to find content, or a digital creator, you want content, you see everything as content most of the time,
Yeah.
if I'm not
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that you are getting the thought process. When you have the thought process in your mind, you can learn in anything, not necessarily something specifically, like not by just watching the youtube video, but in your like let's say same example that I took earlier, project management. You don't have to do
Mm.
do a degree to project management. If you are successful in arranging a trip, you're still managing a project,
Mm.
right? So again, from the wisdom, so when you have that in mind, you can learn from that. Okay, this is how I do, this is how I manage people. So the thought process has to come to you, your brain, so that you can see the learning in anywhere and anything that you do.
Yes. Okay, that makes so much sense. What are you researching these days? Like, what do you spend most time researching in general,
It
or
depends, like
maybe?
I need to drive myself in finding new things, finding new answers. So that is a drive that I have. I need to have something like a triggering me all the time, that is all to keep me going. So these days, to
Mm.
be very specific, I'm like trying to learn my guitar, where like
Okay.
I'm not a guitar person for the past 26, 27 years, not a music person. I'm no I don't even know the ABCD of music even. So something that I wanted to learn. So I'm like, spending more time reading how the music has been composed is something that doing these days. On top of that, I am working on a project to my like a business idea for my company. So I'm just all these days I'm thinking the ifs and buts of those systems. So anything, and I do like, I will have the ifs and buts of that. Like if I listen to a song in TV, like, I'll be thinking the musical aspect, what is the code, like, they're playing, and what is the transition and all those things. But these, like, when you have that in body, so that is what, like, it runs through my mind, the ifs and buts of the business, and the music is running these days in my mind.
Okay, interesting. Um, I asked this question to most of the guests anyway, and I'll be asking as well. The current generation, is it gifted with information and knowledge, or is it a curse? Let's say
It's
Gen
like
Z or
yeah, so very interesting question actually. So but you're putting me on the older side, right?
yeah, I'm also old.
Okay. You're putting me on the older side.
Because I
Anyways,
see gift and yeah, both now.
different eras, yeah, of course. So
Yes.
they have more information. But however, the AI and the modern technologies are all about garbage in, garbage out. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. Right.
Mm,
It's how to use this information is something these generation youngsters have to learn. Right? How to master, how to use these resources. It's like, effective and efficient utilization of these resources. They have data. If they don't efficiently utilize, you're not going to get results. So one thing that I want to share is, now everybody's talking about chat gpt these days. Like, anything that you can learn from chat gpt is something that people thinking. And some people are worried about whether their job is going to be in risk because of this chat gpt and AI. One thing they don't learn is job chat gpt or AI are not going to replace people, replace any people.
mm.
But people or employees who are using chat gpt are going to replace you.
Yeah.
People who are effectively utilizing the resources are going to utilize you where you if you don't use it. So the
Mm,
AIs and research won't replace you. The people who are successfully effectively using are going to replace you. So these
mm.
youngsters, they have all the data, all the resources, but most of them lacking the human sense part of it, the emotional part of it, the leadership, critical thinking part of it, how to use this data. Those parts these youngsters are missing, right? So they are blessed with data, but they're
Mm.
cursed as they are not knowing how to use this data.
Blessed with data, not blessed with purpose or something like that, is it?
Yeah, they are blessed with the availability of data what they have,
Yeah.
but they are not, like, they are cursed because they are not learning how to use it. They are not spending because they are not spending time on how to effectively utilize these resources and technology. That is where the mistake comes.
Okay. Maybe this is my last question. How do you think the education can be upgraded? Because I don't think we can stick to the old system of learning. So it has to definitely upgrade. So at least ChatGPT is now currently partially implemented, I think. Um, Even though, I mean, I think they had to do it because the learners already started to use it. They're like, okay, now let's bring ChatGPT into the system. So how do you think the learning education has to upgrade?
Right.
Your
So you
point of
need to
view?
know why you're learning. All these days we were learning without knowing why we are learning. We don't know why we are
Yeah.
going to school. It was like, the story, the myth was told, like, if you go to school, you're going to be a happy person in future, right? Though that is what told to us, told to you, told to everybody. So we don't know why we are learning. So the learning has to connect with purpose. For example, if you want to go to school, study O levels, A levels, go to campus or government university and be successful in that career path, right? You follow this one. If you don't want to do that, if you want to become a cricketer, go and join a cricketing academy. If you want to become a musician, go and join a music academy. So knowing the purpose on what you want to learn, why you want to learn is important. Second thing is, right, sometimes you learn to brand yourself or level up yourself. Maybe you're doing a degree or an MBA or a PhD, so you're leveling up yourself. That is for your career purpose, maybe, or your personal branding purpose or something. You learn certain things. Sometimes you learn for the knowledge purpose. You want to know things, you want to knowledge. So knowing why you're learning and choose the right source of learning based on what you want to do. If you want project management, or if you want event photography or Photoshop to learn just for the knowledge purpose, don't go and do a degree at a recognized institute. It's not going to serve your purpose. You do it in learn it in YouTube, but learning in YouTube and knowing that won't help you in the career aspect. You need to have the certificate validity. If you want to level up yourself, you need to go to a university or campus. So know what you want to learn, understand the purpose, and then choose what is the medium, what is the source I'm going to learn. That is what we can do. School, O levels, A levels, government, university is one way of learning, and that is not the only way, right? If it serves your purpose, do it. If it doesn't serve your purpose, then you have to rethink of whether you're going to do it or not, right? So that is the key, I would say, the method of learning, because school system is a very good system. I mean, very the quality of learning is good, but whether it serves your purpose 100% of time, there is a question mark. If I want to, like, I want to start my business, I'm learning all the bioscience and science and art and everything, history and everything, it doesn't serve my purpose, it's a question mark. But of course those things are necessary, but does it serve my purpose? No. So then I have to deviate from that and I have to learn something else. At that time, like, if I had learned something, critical thinking or leadership, entrepreneurship, at school time, I would have been more, like, more knowledgeable and having more idea by now. But that then didn't happen because I had to follow the same straightforward thing. Even after figuring out this is not my thing, still I had to, like, go through the same steps, because that is what available and that is what we have to do, and we can't make decision on our own. So we don't have, I don't feel like strongly say, like, like everybody says, change the education system and change this and that. I don't believe in that. That is one system, it's available. Have more such systems, accommodate more people, then anybody can choose anything they want. So that is the learning that I want to give. Connect and say, ask why and choose what to learn. Then don't just learn and then choose why. Choose why and then learn.
That's a good advice, but the challenge that comes up with that is at which point will I know my purpose? It's like a biggest problem even now we are having. Even 25-year-old, 28-year-old, even me, sometimes I just get confused with what's my purpose, why do I want to learn, what do I want to learn, everything. So if it goes back to choosing what path to choose, then there should be some sort of a age to decide that. So do you think?
It depends on where when you get, like, for an example, like, cricketers like Umar Sangakkara, like, started playing cricket when he was 13. And most of the
Okay.
cricketers, like, they used to start early, so they start their career like when they're very young, right? So sometimes like, you have people taking decisions in the 50s and 60s. The owner of the KFC had, like, made his decision when he was 60s, right? It's not, you can't define on when can you make, but you can start involving in the process of finding your purpose the sooner you can, right? So that idea has to be
Okay.
implanted to children as well. So young age parents can implant, like, think what you want to do. It doesn't have to be very specific on, like, I want to be this, exactly this, but the area of interest, you can figure it out. It could be in, like, aesthetics, or it could be in studies, it could be in, like, maths, games, or anything. So the area of implant will be there. So, like, spending more time with that, trying to figure out what it is and what my capabilities, right? Whether I can do that, whether do I have the capability, resources to do that. So those, like, answering those, figuring out those things can happen, and then you can be in the process. At one point you will know exactly what you want. Still, like, we are not sure, like, you and me have figured out what we want, like, the idea might change, but as of
Yeah.
now we have some clarity and working towards it. It could change definitely, or like, there can be, like, changes, there can be revisions of what we want, but as of now we have clarity. So today or tomorrow we are doing certain things, we have clarity and we are doing for this. It's okay if it is not the same after 5 years. So still we can't determine whether we have figured out, found the purpose, but as of now we have clarity on what we are doing and what we are inching towards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Finding the skills, I think it's a huge responsibility for the parents. As yeah, that exposure is very important. Okay, thank you, Roshan. I think maybe we might have to do a part two of this because there's a lot of areas that we can deeply dive into. But thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me here. So it was a very fruitful discussion. So I hope I gave you some insight as well. So hope to see you soon. Thank you. Have a great day.